So tell us about how people are feeling towards the mortgage brokers and the mortgage industry in general.
Good question. It depends, right? I think it really depends on what your relationship was with that mortgage broker, mortgage agent, or even that mobile specialist, right? Because not everyone deals with a mortgage broker. Some people deal directly through their bank, through the mobile specialist or the branch. And I think to answer that question, it really depends on the relationship, right? There's some people that are upset, truthfully, that, my broker told me to go variable. Now look at this. I should have gone fixed. In hindsight, I think it's hard to determine this, right? No one has a crystal ball, right? You have the Bank of Canada literally stating they're not going to move rates until end of 2023, and they do gradual. Well, surprise, they didn't do that.
They started? When was it? 2022?
It's almost been close to a year now,
Yeah.
right? So, it's hard. And again, it's always about what is the intention, what are the type of conversations you're having. If you're pushing your broker or your mobile specialist to be transactional because you know exactly what you want, sorry, I thought I was going to drop this, then it's kind of your fault too, right? Truthfully, for some people that have gotten variable rate mortgage, as bad as it seems, for some people it's actually a blessing.
Really? Okay.
I'll explain why.
Yeah.
If you have a variable rate mortgage today, you either have a static payment or a variable payment.
Right.
People that are static, they could be, perhaps somewhat happy that their payment's staying put, but they're eroding a lot of their equity. You have amortizations like going really, really, really high. I've seen 78 as the highest. And so from that perspective, that's, a bad situation to be in. But, yeah, 100%. But if you don't have a choice because perhaps you lost your job, which we're seeing some of that right now, that's a blessing in disguise temporarily. But again, if you're in that situation, you need to reach out to someone, your bank, even your realtor, someone to just talk about it. I think the mistake is no one talks about it, right? People don't want to pick up the phone and call because perhaps they're embarrassed, or there's nothing to be embarrassed.
No,
it's you have to communicate, right? And then when you think of people that are in a variable rate mortgage where their payment fluctuates, well, sure, you're complaining because you're like, oh, payment went up again. Oh,
Yeah.
payment went up again. Payment went up again. But the reality is the people that went fixed, they're about to renew too. They're going to have a huge payment shock. Huge payment shock. So, the blessing in disguise for those individuals that went with a variable rate mortgage that fluctuates is that they're slowly but surely adapting to the new reality.
Yeah.
And they're not eroding their, capital within their home, their equity, yeah. So again, we can sit here and say, oh, I should have done this, oh, I should have done that.
Yeah.
You never know.
Nobody knew. Nobody knew what was coming.
No one knows,
Right?
and still no one knows,
No,
right? And funny
exactly.
enough, a year and a half ago, a lot of us in the broker community go for a 2-year term, go for a 3-year term, because the cycle should repeat itself, and we expect it to go back down, right?
Right.
I have somewhat of an issue with that today, because if you're still giving the same advice you gave a year and a half ago, if you're not adapting to that, then wait a second. If you're telling me today, take a 3-year term, where a year and a half ago you told me the same thing, 3 plus 1.5 is 4.5. I should have just gone with a 5-year term, right?
Right.
So my pet peeve right now in the industry is that people are just regurgitating what they're hearing. But is it still reality, right? Like, we've learned a lot of what's going on today based on a year and a half ago. We know there's going to be a lot of migration coming. The federal government, that's all they talk about, that's all they're pushing. We also know we have a supply and demand issue. So what are we going to do, right? Some people say, in 24, 25, real estate prices are going to doom down. Well, Not if you're bringing in 1 million people.
They need to live, they need shelter.
Well, that's exactly it, right?
And they're coming with money. They're coming
Yes.
into the country with money. It's not
Yeah.
like they're coming without.
Yeah, and you know what? We as Canadians, we feel that rates are always correlated directly to my mortgage, but it has so much more to do with
right,
the economy
yes,
than
of
just your
course.
mortgage, right?
Right. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused because we're not economists,
Right.
And they comment, oh, we have to get inflation down, and then the mortgage rates will go down, but inflation's still high because mortgage interest is high. Well,
Right.
mortgage interest is high because the rates are high, and everybody's going, I don't get it, right? Like, what do they want from us?
Thing's gonna happen is I think rates are gonna. I think this is a new norm. I think rates could go down a little bit down the road, but I don't think we've hit that peak yet.
Right.
Again, I could be wrong. I think we're gonna continue going up a little bit. We're already close to the sixes. A lot of banks are already in the sixes. Some of them are in the sevens.
Right.
And I think when it all stabilizes, I think we're gonna end up the new norm around the 5%, maybe high fours, low fives. I think that's your new settle. You know, the times of twos, the times of ones, they're gone.
Yes.
You know, but you can't predict things either. Like no one predicted the war between Russia and Ukraine. Like no one predicted that China's gonna literally print trillions of dollars to boost their economy. And I don't care what anyone says. We're globalized, and so China being a main artery in the economy, printing a lot of money, trillions actually, and you have Canada trying to fight inflation. It's kind of like counterintuitive, right? And so, I think it boils down to you need to have a proper conversation. A lot of people come to me and say, "Hey, I need a 3-year fix." The best question you can do is just why. One word, why.
Why?
You open up so much, and you get to learn so much about you know the people you're talking to. It's actually quite fun.
And that is something that's really important. Where for people who are coming, whether they're coming to see a mortgage broker, or they're coming to see a realtor, being open, being candid. Because like you said earlier, it's not about being transactional. We want to find solutions. We're more of solutionists than we are salespeople.
Danielle, you're bang on. But here's a question: how can you, or I, or Jen, or anyone, or Brad? Hey, Brad, give this opinion or decisions or help you with it if you don't ask the why,
Yeah.
100%.
right?
Yep.
So I think a more important question is why aren't people asking why? What do you guys think? Like, what do you guys see from your clients and when they deal with their banks and?
They're being misfed a lot of information, and they're getting a lot of information, so they feel that they're educated when they're not. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, and so you're right. Like you were telling me a story about a client earlier today who thinks he knows what he wants. He thinks he knows exactly what price he can get for his house based on his information, but not based on our realtor's information, right?
Like we're in this
Yeah.
day in and day out. We're looking at numbers all the time, right? And so when they're coming already armed and they feel like
Loaded.
Yeah, they are, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to sometimes change the mindset where what you have read, what you know, coming from all these different areas is not quite what's happening in your specific area.
Or you have to challenge that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because what people don't know is that, or they may not know, is that sure, rates being the way it is going to put a lot of people in financial trouble. But if you're paying attention for the last 8-10 years, the government has gotten, OSFIs particularly, they've really focused on tightening the mortgage rules. Nothing says that they can't loosen them up again.
This is true.
And this is actually conversations that they're having right now, right? So, stress test, 25-year amortizations, that all came in about the last 10 years.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
if the economy is really suffering from a housing perspective, who says that they can loosen up the rules? And hey, you know what? Maybe we should do 30-year AMs again,
Yeah,
or
rates
35.
are high, but our rules
Right,
are loose.
because again, going back, rates are not just to your mortgage. It's not just about the housing. It's about the entire economy, right?
Yeah, auto, everything,
So again, that's a conversation that no one else is having either. A lot of people have reversible, not reversible, revolving lines of credit where their line of credit increases as per their mortgage that gets paid down. If you know that, that's coming off.
Oh.
No one's talking about that.
Okay.
So, if you're paying down your mortgage and your line of credit is increasing in terms of limits, so you have access to that, there's big talks right now that by the end of the year, probably, the regulars are going to come in and say no more. So you're going to get a letter saying, hey, you know that line of credit that keeps increasing every month when you pay your mortgage?
It's done.
Gone.
Yeah.
And they can do that.
Of course. Yeah.
So there's other mechanisms to help Canadians, is what I'm trying to articulate, I guess, if I will. But everyone's just talking about that particular rate because we all know when rates are coming down.
Yeah.
We don't.
No.
Or going up.
Right.
And mostly first-time home buyers
Okay.
are one of the bigger questions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what would be the best advice for them?
If you're a first-time home buyer, congratulations, you got in the market.
Yeah.
Because it's hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let's just put that out
Yeah.
there. I think it really depends on your risk level and not only your career progression, but also your family dynamics and what's to come. And so if you're a first-time home buyer, perhaps you're starting a family, maybe you're making X amount today, but will one of you perhaps be a parent
And be on maternity leave.
and be able to do it? So cash flow matters, right? And so, yes, rates could go down, but typically for a first-time home buyer, I would suggest more of a conservative approach, but with an aggressive strategy.
Oh.
So right now, the delta, the difference between a 5-year and a 3-year, for example, it's about 80 basis points.
Oh, wow.
0.80, 0.7, and yes, there's some that are less, some that are more. Guys, this is all average,
Average.
okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. And this is as of this day, okay?
Yeah.
So if you're watching this video
Could
a
be
year
different
from now,
tomorrow.
it might be different, okay? But my point is that do you want to pay a premium betting that 3 years from now, 2 years from now, their rates are going to be substantially less? Because if they're going to be the same, that doesn't make any sense. If they're going to be higher, that doesn't make any sense. So you're betting that they're going to be a lot less, right? You're getting into a first home. Is this now the time to start making bets?
No.
When
You
we
got
all
stability.
when we all know that 3 years from now your life could be a lot different, right? Maybe your family just grew, or maybe you know what, you got tired of the type of employment you have and now you're in the gig economy, right? Whatever, right? Like things happen. So what I would say, go with the 5-year if the delta makes sense, but make the payments as if it was a 100-year. Because in compounding, everyone talks about compounding in a negative way. Oh, compounding. Yeah, but it also works the other way too.
Yeah.
So just for just as an example, let's say you have 5% as a 5-year fix, and then you have 5.8 as a 3-year fix. Okay, take the 5-year at 5%, and over the next 3 years, treat it as if it was 5.8. You're paying,
Yeah, that's a good chunk.
Yeah.
right?
That's a good chunk.
Like again, there's so many different things that you can do, but more importantly, if for whatever reason if things get bad, well, your payment's still based on 5%.
Yes. You can lower your.
So you can start to come back down.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Now, 3 years from now, you've paid down your mortgage aggressively. You started maybe at 25 years, and your amortization could be easily 16 years just by doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You shaved off, years and years and years of paying a mortgage.
That's an awesome tip.
Yeah, that's a great.
Awesome tip.
Yeah, but but again, that's depending on that particular scenario,
Yeah.
right? Now, if you're a first-time home buyer and you're putting 50% down and you get really big bonuses, so you have lots of variable income, and you can afford that risk, okay,
Take it.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yeah.
let's chat
If
about
it
it.
makes sense.
Or what about both? This is one thing that drives me nuts. No one talks about hedging.
Yes, and you talked about hedging
Yeah.
recently, and I even was like, "What's hedging? Talk to me about hedging."
Well, there's different ways to see. So you don't have to choose between a 3-year and a 5-year. You can actually take both. Some
more.
lenders,
Tell us some more about that.
We're
Go
like,
ahead.
what?
some lenders will let you diversify your borrowing into segments.
Okay.
So let's say you bought a house and you have a 400K mortgage. You can take $200,000 as a 3-year fix and $200,000 as a 5-year fix.
No way.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my
You can
God.
actually do 3 mortgages.
And does it have to be with the same lender?
Yes,
Okay,
unfortunately.
that's one caveat.
Yes.
So is this something that banks and mortgage brokers readily talk to their clients about?
If they ask why,
Uh-huh.
why are you doing
Gotta
this?
ask
What
back
are you
to that
trying to
question.
do?
Gotta say why.
What's important?
Back to
Actually,
finding the solution.
but it's not even. It's something that it's been around for so long. Like I have people right now coming into maturity, and it's funny because one spouse, the husband, takes one approach, and the other spouse, the wife, takes another approach, and they literally bet as to who was right.
Oh.
Because one thought variable's the best, one thought fix is the best, and it's funny because when I'm having those conversations, so I'm like, okay, so who was right?
Who's right? Yeah, yeah.
And it's just creative.
It is.
Right? And that's not to be too. Like the good thing is that you can hedge not only at time of maturity, so you're hedging their time of maturity because you don't want to renew all at the same time.
Right.
But you can also hedge based on the type of mortgage. You can go a third variable, a third a 3-year fix, and a third a 5-year fix.
Wow.
Like
It's like an investment portfolio.
But,
Yes.
and diversification is key.
Yes, right? True.
So again, you're just having a conversation.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, not every lender offers that, but the point is that there is options out there.
Like you said with refis, you're probably getting a lot of people coming now
Right.
who were in 2 or
2%.
3 years in the past, or even on fixed, and they're going, oh gosh,
Yeah.
my mortgage is about to double. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so how are you calming them down? Are you calming them down?
Depends on what the stress point is, right? Like some stresses are real, and you have to empathize with them,
For sure.
right? And you know, sometimes you do need to perhaps liquidate that asset for whatever reason, right? Things happen.
Right.
But if you do it in a timely manner, it doesn't mean that you can't get back into the market down the road, right? It just depends on how you do things. But more often than not, there's a lot of solutions to keeping your home, right? It's just you have to stop thinking about the cost of borrowing and focus more on the solution.
Yes.
You know,
and the
the-
affordability of your payment.
Right.
Things
Right.
like
There's
that.
a lot of people that have a lot of equity right now, right? And you know, it takes time to adjust.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of equity and you're coming for renewal, and your difference in payment now is an extra $2,000, and you're like, holy moly,
Where am I getting that? Yeah.
I don't even have that. Like there's no way. Like,
Impossible.
what do I do? Well, luckily you have equity in your home, and I'm not saying that from a cost of borrowing that makes financial sense, but sometimes when it's your home, you have to make decisions based on what's right for your family.
In that moment.
You know,
Yeah.
it could be school, it could be family dynamics.
Yeah.
There's a lot more emotional things that happen with your home. That it's more than just how much interest you pay, right? And so, for whatever reason, a lot of people are afraid to open up and be vulnerable about it, but you need to communicate. And so, what I would say to someone like that is perhaps we look into doing a portion of it as a line of credit because it's
Right.
interest only, and then another portion as a mortgage. So maybe your payment, instead of $2,000 higher, maybe it's 1,500, maybe it's
Right.
1,000, you know.
Got that.
Or if there's really no way, shape, or form that you can literally afford this for whatever reason, but you have equity, well, do we believe that in 3 years from now you'll be able to find a different job, you can adjust, maybe,
Something.
you know, maybe another income comes into
Yeah.
play, whatever the case may be? Well, 2,000 times 36 months, which is 3 years, is what, $76,000, $72,000? Yeah, $72,000. You have equity, so your mortgage is now 300. Let's take out 375,
Right.
and let's force that equity to turn into an emergency fund
Right.
that can hold you up.
That's such a good point because so many people, I don't know, I guess it's our media and everything. everybody's afraid of debt, and I get it. Nobody likes debt, but I feel like mortgage debt and commercial debt, like I don't know the right term for
Yeah,
it.
there's good debt and bad
Consumer
debt.
debt.
Consumer
Like,
debt,
it's
sorry, not
different.
commercial, consumer.
Yeah.
They're different, but like everybody wants to put as much down on their house as they can and not keep any out. People don't want to take equity from their house because their mortgage is higher again, and it's like there's a big mindset against this, which I'm sure you run into all the time.
What am I trying to solve?
Right.
Right? Some people need to stay in their home, like need to stay in their home,
Yeah.
right? There's so many examples of this is the right choice, but it's not based on, this is me, sorry. But you have to understand why. You have to understand because not everyone just thinks that if I focus on rate, I'll get the best mortgage and the lower payment. But you don't have to just focus on lower payment.
Right.
But I want to turn it around on you guys. What are you guys telling people?
To talk to you.
No, I mean from like first time home buyers, for example. Let's just focus on that for a minute.
So if I
Or
was
someone
talking,
upsizing.
Yeah, for
right?
somebody, again, today, I would tell them that now's a great time to buy because we don't have a lot going on right now in the market. There's not a ton of inventory. There's not a lot of competition either.
Right.
Prices are, not historically high nor historically low currently.
Right.
We're kind of in a good spot for them where they can probably get into the market
Right.
before changes happen again.
Right.
Right? Also, after interest rate announcements, we find the market
There's a dip.
does dip for a week or two, well, mindsets adjust. So again, that's a really good time for buyers.
Yeah.
It's funny because they adjust, but then they readjust very quickly when
Exactly.
they realize that there's no supply.
Exactly,
Right?
right? That's what we find.
And
is
part of the issue
quick
there's no
dip.
supply is because people can't move.
Yes.
They don't qualify.
Yeah.
So when you port a mortgage from one property to another, it's not just transferring the mortgage, you have to requalify.
Which is a huge
That's
thing that
big.
people don't understand.
Yeah.
We've gone through
Right?
that
So,
before too, yeah.
well, fine. If I can downsize, I know it sounds really dumb, but if I can't downsize, I'll stay in my home. I won't sell it.
Right? Yeah,
Right?
because I can't take my mortgage with me, so I'm going to buy a smaller house but have the same monthly payment.
Which
So
doesn't
why did I
make
do
sense.
that?
Or
Right.
or if I sell my property and I can't port, then I have 1.59. I don't want to pay 5 and change.
On top of
I'm
it,
just
yeah.
gonna hold on for another 2 years or 3 years.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yes, rates kind of slow people down in terms of getting into the market. But it actually does the opposite for investors. I have a ton of people right now saying, Chris, let's get ready. Let's just get ready because you have to be ready so you can pounce.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they're waiting for the dip.
Right, they're waiting for the dip, right? And we kind of did a segment of this. It's all about date the rate, marry the property.
Yes, which we love. We love that talk.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, because real estate is a long-term play. It's all about diversifying. And I honestly don't know anyone, perhaps you guys do, that bought a property 30 years ago and sold it for less today.
Right.
Of course not.
There's nobody.
Right?
And we've had dips and ups and dips and ups and dips and ups.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, same with the stock market. If you invested in TSX 30 years ago, even though through all this stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah. But historically, real estate still performs better.
no, I get it, but my point is,
Like-
We got to point that part out.
my point is that long term, it performs.
Yes, absolutely. Right?
And I find a lot of first-time buyers are still waiting. They're like, well, the rates are high and prices are still going to go down. It's like, guys, you are playing a game that you're probably not going
Just
to
don't
win,
know.
right?
Just don't know.
So get in now, while as much as the rates are higher than you're used to in the last few years, prices are still, like Jen said, not as high. If you keep waiting, it's going to outpace you,
Well, it's
and
not
you're
just
never
that.
going to get in.
Better strategy. You know what? If you really do think rates are going to go down drastically, fine. Get in the market now. Get used to a 5.5% rate.
Yeah.
Treat it like that, right?
Right.
And then when it comes for
Start
renewal
banking that
and your
extra.
rates are 2%, you're gonna keep paying it as it's 5.5% because you're used to that. So you're
Yeah.
gonna kill your mortgage very quickly.
Yeah.
And if rates go down really, really drastically, what's gonna happen to your asset? It's gonna go back up. So not only you're paying down your mortgage aggressively, but if you really do think that rates are gonna go down, now is a bad time, okay, Sure, try to time the market, but if you go with that strategy,
Yeah.
no one's gonna beat you.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like,
Yeah.
when is a good time to buy? Now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And selling, it's another story, right? Again, it's really based on their motivation. Like, if you have to sell, okay, because you bought a house, sure. Like, there's not a lot you can do about that. It's a lateral move, right?
Right.
People that are exiting the market, is it the best time for them to sell? You know, we don't know what's going to happen. So based on that, I would say no, because it's like, yeah, you could get less for your house tomorrow.
I think
Right?
that goes back to
A lot
risk.
of people played that game a couple years
Yeah.
ago.
that
Risk tolerance,
Exactly.
right? Like there is different ways and solutions where you could keep the property you have right now and buy a new one, but no one wants to talk about it. Why? Because it's complex,
Yeah, it's true.
and I don't want to give you advice because what if I'm wrong,
That's the hard part.
right?
Right? Yeah. Don't shoot the messenger.
I give you the advice, but you're the one making the decision. So I don't understand why people would be afraid of giving advice if they're not the ones making the decision.
Yeah,
So it's
you're
like,
Yeah.
Right?
You can say
this
it
is
if
my
you want.
opinion, but I don't see a
Yeah.
gun anywhere, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other important questions at this time?
No, he covered a lot.
I know.
That
I
was
talk
awesome.
a lot.
That was
No,
great.
you're
You
fantastic
guys-
though.
yeah. No, you
And
guys
like,
are awesome.
And